Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in the 0 to 100k challenge where I take a brand new KDP account, start from absolutely scratch all the way up to hopefully $100,000 in just 1 year. If you've been following along, you'll know that we are now 6 months through, so we've just finished June. So I wanted to make a video going over what has gone well so far, what hasn't quite gone so well, and what I've learned from publishing on a brand new account for 6 months. At the end of the video, I'll be showing our royalties after 6 months, as well as our ad spend, and of course our overall profit, so make sure you stick around for that. So what has gone well so far on this new account? Now, the first thing and probably the most important thing is that the quality of our books has been great. So we've had some really good reviews. Now, personally, in the past, I've had real problems with having some bad reviews come in because I've always been quite slack on the editing side of things. I've always rushed to get books out, especially before Christmas and things like that. We've really identified that that is costing like tens or if not hundreds of thousands of pounds in royalties in the past. So one of the main focuses on this new account has been really good editing, really going over these books to make sure they are completely sound. And, you're not going to get any bad reviews coming in, and that means people are going to come back and buy more books in the future. If you watched our last royalties report of June, I've showed the reviews of our top 5 best-selling books, and all of these books are at 4.5 or 5 stars, so it's obviously working very well. Another thing that's been great is that we've picked niches, which are pretty much very easy to make into a series of books. That means we can make multiple, sort of 2, 3, 4, 5, even more books in that series for each one. This is great for multiple reasons. The first is that it makes it really easy to come up with new book ideas. They sort of fall into place and you know exactly what book you're going to make after you've made the last one. And the second thing is that if people like your book, that means they're going to come back to your account on Amazon. They're going to start buying more of yours because you have more available in a similar genre that they're probably interested in. And thirdly, our advertising campaigns have been very successful, and our sort of spend to royalty ratio has been exactly where I think it should be to try and make the most amount of money. In the UK, our ACOS has been sitting at around about sort of 22 to 24%, which is absolutely fantastic. And then in Canada and Australia, our ACOS has been well below 20%, in Australia, even below 10%. The only country which our advertising hasn't quite been as successful as we would like for it to be is the US, where our ACOS is normally sitting around 30, 31%. But this is still pretty good, and this is around about a break-even ACOS for the royalties that we're getting, so we're still very happy with that. Now, of course, everything doesn't always go to plan, so now we'll look at what has not gone so well. Now, for starters, and something that we couldn't really foresee when we started publishing on this new account, is that we published quite a few books with a large trim size. So a lot of our books are 8.5 by 11 inches, and ever since they brought up the printing cost changes on June the 20th, this means that their royalties they receive is now significantly lower. We're getting about 30p less per book, approximately, depends very much on the page length of the interior and if they're color or black and white and all that. But we're getting approximately 30 pence less, and all of the books have a large trim size compared to our books which have a smaller trim size. Of course, before the printing cost changes, it did not matter what size the books were, what trim size they were. So often we would choose to go for the large trim size because it allows you to get more text on there and things like that, and it means it's easier to stick to this sort of 108 pages or less mark, which is where you get the most royalties. But now that they've changed this and they don't let you change the trim size, this has come back to bite us because we are now losing out on some royalties on some of our books, and we've had to up their prices in order to get the same royalties, which of course means that some people probably will be put off buying our books because they are slightly more expensive in the future. But that is not really something that we could foresee. And from now on, we're really going to be focusing on making our books a smaller size so we can really access that highest royalty rate. The second thing that has not gone so well is that we've not been able to hit our target books published per month. If you go all the way back to the start of this channel, the second video I made, I laid out a sort of blueprint for how many books I was planning to publish on this new account per month. And it turns out that number was slightly optimistic, and we've not been able to achieve this for a couple of reasons. So the main one is that we've been traveling whilst we've been doing this. So there's been sort of factors that have hindered us in our sort of book uploading process. A lot of the places we've been haven't had great Wi-Fi, and of course we've been sort of experiencing the traveling lifestyle, so we've not been able to work full time on this. But one of the main factors as to why we haven't been able to hit our targets of book published per month is that we have really just been focusing on a really good quality of book, and it's been taking a lot more hours than I sort of anticipated per book, which is definitely not a bad thing because we're getting some great reviews in, and these books are going to have some fantastic longevity on Amazon. So in the long run, we're going to make more money by publishing less books of good quality, but it does just mean that we're not quite getting as many books out as we originally planned per month. And thirdly, we have struggled to break the US market quite as much as we would like, which is a strange one because the US market is by far the biggest, and most KDP publishers sell way more to the US than they do to other marketplaces. But we've actually sold more than 50% of our books to the UK. And to be honest, Canada has been selling pretty much as well as the US, which really is strange for KDP publishers. And on my own personal account, that is absolutely not the case. And the US generally is out in front. US and UK are quite close behind, but Canada is much lower than the US. So in the future, I definitely would like to start making more sales to the US and have some slightly better advertising campaigns and lower ACOSs. But I do think that will come in the future. I think the fact that it is the biggest market and the most people are advertising there is the most competition does, of course, make it the hardest to break into. So I do think that the more we establish ourselves as a brand and the more books we have up, we will start to break into this US market better, start getting better bestseller ranks and ranking better in the algorithm. So now I'll tell you what I've learned after 6 months of publishing a brand new KDP account and how it's perhaps changed from when I started in 2019. For starters, KDP is still so profitable in 2023 if you have a good strategy and you really persist with it. It's taken us around about 6 months to get to a point where we're doing nearly $3,000 a month. And last month we had over $1,800 in profits. And of course, this is passive income, as you all know. I've seen so many videos and posts from people saying that KDP has been dead for a long time now. It's oversaturated, especially with the sort of coming through of ChatGPT and other AI like that. But that is just absolutely not the case. There is still so much money to be made in 2023, and I can't see it going anywhere in the future. The second point is that it takes longer than I thought for books to start selling well when you have not established yourself as a brand. So on my own personal brand, I can publish a book and I can be confident they will start selling well pretty much straight from the off. But that is because I've established myself very well as a brand. People come back and they come look for the brand. So I have trust from the customers that they're going to like the product. Whereas starting on this brand new account, that's absolutely not been the case. You know, when we published the book straight away, we have not been getting the sales we were expecting, and it has taken a month, 6 weeks, even sometimes 2 months for the book to really come in their stride and to start selling the numbers that we think they should be selling. But you have to trust the process and you really have to persist with it and have faith that the sales will start coming in. And after a couple of months of the books being live, all of the books that have had good quality, they have really started to sell and we're really seeing the good numbers coming in. And of course, the more books we publish and the more sales we make and the more books we get out in a series, the more we get to establish our brand. So in the future, hopefully, the new books that we publish will start to sell better right from the off, as we've experienced in the past. Now we come to the third point, which is especially important for brand new accounts or newer accounts which haven't quite established themselves as a brand yet, and that is that it is vital to run a more aggressive ad strategy for the first 30 days of a book being published. Now, this is because the KDP has an algorithm where they basically treat the first 30 days as a tester period, as I said before in my videos. So you really want to trick them into thinking your book's going to sell even better than it actually will. So what you want to do is you want to run a really aggressive ad strategy for the first month, and then after that month is up, you can run a more normal ad strategy. But the beauty of it is that KDP will now push your book higher up on the search pages because they think your book is going to sell really well in the future. But as I said before, as you're a new brand, you really have to push the sales at the start, or else people are just simply not going to buy your book after this month is up. So what we've done is we've run really aggressive ad strategies. We've had ACOSs running even at a loss sometimes, but that's okay because in the long run, it's going to make us more money and it's really starting to pay off now that we're a few more months down the line. So now we'll start having a look at the breakdown of the new account and then of course at the end, the results. So on this new account, we've got 13 medium contents currently and one high content. The high content was very much a sort of an inquisitive book. We weren't really sure how it's going to do, and unsurprisingly, it's been by far the worst performing book. So the main focus, of course, on this new account, seeing as we're doing all ourselves, has been these 13 medium content books, and that number is hopefully going to rise a lot in the near future. So of course, it makes up 93%. Now, of these 13 or 14 different books in total, we'll have a look at the different niches that we've published in. So we've published in 3 different niches that have 2 or more books in a series. So basically what this means is that we'll publish a book in a niche that we think is going to sell well. And then if it does sell well, we're going to start publishing more books in that niche to try and build it into a series. But if that book does not perform well on its own, then we are not going to make it into a series. So all of our medium contents have performed to a point where we think it's good enough to make more of them in a series. We think it's worth our time. And then the only standalone book that we have not made any more of or made into a series because they were not profitable enough was that one sort of exploratory high content made at the start. So now we get to the total royalties after 6 months. And one thing that I quickly want to say is that although it is actually past June, so it's actually more than 6 months the year is up, the reason I've made this video a little bit into July is that we actually didn't make a sale until the 25th of January of this year. And that is because we had a couple of problems setting up a business bank account for this new account. So for that reason, I've sort of done this video on the 15th of July. So it's sort of halfway through the next month. So it's kind of been 6 months and you can decide what you will of that. So the royalties so far have been $7,903, and as you can see there, January 25th to July the 15th. And here is a graph of our results so far. So as you can see, and if you've been following along with the challenge, you can see that it's climbing really nicely with every single month is making nice gains. We've been sort of regularly making sort of $500, $600, $700 profits every single month. And last month, we managed to make over $1,000 more than the month before. So things are really trending in the right direction, heading up to Q4. And just you wait to the end of Q4, this graph is going to go absolutely insane. And hopefully, I'm expecting sales in December to be about 8 times what they are in sort of build up months up to Q4. So if we can do, $4,000 or $5,000 in September, for example, then December should hopefully be about 8 times that. So, the numbers really do start to get crazy. Here is our earnings by book so far. So as you can tell, there are 4 books that have been absolutely smashing it. 4 books that have all sold over $1,000, and this one book, which is an absolute standout book on front here, and it sold over a third of our royalties so far. So it's been doing absolutely fantastically. But these 4 books are all selling very consistently, doing extremely well. But as I always say, you can't overlook the other books which are doing consistent sales every single month, doing $50 to $100 a month at the moment. And over a year, as time goes by, these books are on Amazon forever. These sales really will start to add up. And I do anticipate that these books on sort of $381 right now, this book will definitely sell over $1,000 when the year is up, probably comfortably $1,500. These books are still performing extremely well. One other thing to quickly look at is our ebook royalties here of just under $400, which has been great because most of these books are not particularly suitably made into ebooks, but we do only make books into ebooks, if they will still work and it will still give a good reader experience, which we believe they will. And of course, the people have still enjoyed them. We've not received bad reviews. So $400 in ebook royalties, and we've been running no ads. It's absolutely fantastic, as well as the $42 earning Kemp royalties. But of course, the lion's share of the royalties come from these print royalties, with just under $7,500 being there. Now, here are the last 4 books, which of course not performed nearly as well. But this book at the bottom, I will say, is just an ebook of one of the medium contents, which has actually done really well. And for some reason, Amazon just thinks they're 2 separate books. So we just need to email them and say that it's one separate book. They appear as one book on the bookshelf, so that's not a problem. And then we have here, this is our high content book, which is actually one of the first books we published, and it's only sold $35 in its whole life. So that one has clearly not performed very well at all. Then we have this book at $44. That has only just been published this month, so that has not nearly had enough time to start performing. And then, they have our next sort of worst performing medium content book at $100 here. So I think that's still pretty good going. I'll give you a quick evaluation of how the 3 different niches have been performing. And we have niche 1, which has been by far the best niche. And as you can see, it's got 73% of sales with $5,740 in royalties. Now, this niche has been absolutely fantastic. And our top 3 best-selling books are all within this niche. But pretty much all the sales from this niche come from those top 3 books. And we have tried to expand it, and the other ones haven't quite performed as well as those. But we will look to expand it in the future if we can find some good ideas that we think will continue to sell. But that niche has been absolutely great. Our second one has 5 books in it, and we've had $1,900 in royalties. And these books are a lot more consistent. They're selling really well. And we have 1 book which has sold over $1,000 in it. But the other 4 are now consistently doing between $50 to $100 a month. And this niche is really sort of ticking the account over and making sure the royalties stay good every single month. And then finally, we have our third niche. Now, these are 2 pretty new books. They've only been around for about 2 months. So the fact that they've done $220 in 2 months isn't bad. And I do expect them to pick up in the future. And I think this is a niche that is worth pursuing, even though it only makes up 3% of the total sales so far. So this brings us to the most important part of the video, of course, and that is the total profit after 6 months on the brand new account. So far, our ad spend, including the 20% VAT, is $3,302. Our royalties, as you've seen earlier, are $7,903. So that means that the total profit is $4,600. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope you've enjoyed the first 6 months of this challenge. The account is really starting to grow now, and the numbers are starting to pick up, so there should be some exciting months ahead of us. And if you have enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe.